Good afternoon. Today I'm your host for Take a Stand. I have two judges with me, Judge Johnson, Judge Kirk. This is Take a Stand, Damita Chatman, where we speak life into the community. You follow us on social medias, follow us on Roku, follow us on all social media platforms, download Apple Television, and etc. This is the disclaimer. Everything is the opinion of the host and the guest, not the producer. I want to thank Judge Kirk and Judge Johnson for coming today. We want to dive deep into this court system, let people understand the different areas of the court. Thank you. I'm going to go with Judge Kirk first and let her introduce herself and give me a minute of what she's doing. Then we'll go to Judge Johnson. Thank you so much.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cassandra Kirk. I have the absolute honor of serving as the Chief Magistrate Judge here in Fulton County. And I will tell you that our magistrate court handles civil as well as criminal cases. One of the joys, and today, other than being on this program, one of the joys is today we had our Bang the Gavel program, which is an opportunity for the community to have students come down. So we have high school age students who spend half a day with the court. They observe court. And they also get to have lunch with our judges, but they also get to have a mock trial. So it's an opportunity for our community to send some students and for the students to see really what it is we do all day. That's kind of on the fun side. Another piece that we do that is not what we are required to do, but what we get to do is we also do something called the Magistrate Court 101. That is where our senior staff attorney from our REACH clinic goes out into the community and we talk to the community about how to handle a how to handle a garnishment case, how to handle a warrant application case, and how to handle a small claims case. So we think it's important that the community not just has access to the court, but really is able to engage with a court. Our model, obviously, is to inform, engage, and empower our community. And in addition to just doing our arrest warrants and search warrants, our warrant application hearings, first appearance hearings, preliminary hearings, ordinance violation cases, in addition to abandoned motor vehicles, small claims, garnishments, personal property, landlord-tenant cases, we really like to be a part of our community. And so being here with you is one of those opportunities I enjoy. So thank you.
Thank you, Judge Kirk. Judge Johnson.
Hello, WCEG listeners. My name is Judge Kenya Johnson, and I am your Fulton County Probate Court Judge. People ask, what is probate court? Well, probate court is the office that delivers services. We do estates, guardianships. Estates are when someone passes away. We assist in managing their assets. Guardianships, when someone has a mental or physical disability and they need assistance and someone to be appointed to be in charge. We also issue weapons carry licenses. And the great part about what we do is issue marriage licenses for the entire county. And so we have initiatives such as our Forever Fridays, where we offer free wedding ceremonies all day without an appointment to Fulton County residents. So we offer a variety of services that promote your family. I was elected in 2020 and I am back up for office in 2024. It's been a pleasure to serve Fulton County residents.
Thank you so much, Judge Johnson and Judge Kirk. I'm looking forward to you serving 4 more years. I'm gonna put it out there. You're gonna win this election. Don't worry about it. Just do what you do. Let me ask you a question. Why I got you, Judge Johnson. Tell me, when someone died and their parents didn't leave a will, and they got 20 siblings, they own a house. So this sibling that's in the house is the baby sibling. Been in there for years. She's taking care of the home. And all of a sudden, everybody's saying it's their home. What do you do in a case like that?
Oh, wow, Miss Chapman. Thank you for having me on because these scenarios we hear often in Fulton County Probate Court. So when someone passes away without a will, then the state dictates where their items belong to. If you have a will, you can put your wishes on who you want to receive your hard-earned assets. So without a will, Georgia law favors blood relations. So if you have children, your items will go to your children. If you have a spouse, they may be split between your spouse and your children or any living parents. So children are to split equally. Georgia law does not recognize half siblings. Everyone is considered an heir of a decedent if they share one or more parent. And so if a house is split between all the children equally, then just because someone has lived in the house recently or they were the ones who cared for the loved one in their final days, none of that matters. The law is going to give an equal share to the remaining heirs. And if that means that someone has to cut a deal with the remaining heirs to live in the property or buy the other heirs out, all of those are options that families need to discuss, but there's no better way to discuss it than to create an estate plan. So probate court encourages families to have those sometimes difficult conversations because it avoids a lot of turmoil in court action on the back end. So plan ahead to avoid problems later.
So let me ask you a question. If I have a home and just say I'm gonna say my father passed, got 5 siblings. I stay in the house and I'm doing all the maintenance and upkeep in this house and nobody else doing it. They can come back and say, this is my house.
Absolutely not. None of that changes ownership. Georgia law is going to give equal shares to siblings. Now, if they've been keeping the house or fixed it up before they sold it, those may be considered expenses of the estate. But for someone to just live in there, listen, we all have to pay for where we live. And so either you're paying rent or you're paying mortgage. And so some costs are really just attributable to keeping and staying in the property until it's ultimately sold. But we encourage people to settle their estates as soon as possible. There are thousands of Fulton County residents that are living in houses that are titled to a deceased person's name. And that's dead equity. They can't get a home improvement loan. They can't pay the taxes. And that makes the property very vulnerable for investors or to lose it from taxes. So it pays to go through the probate process. And if you are living in the home, you're either keeping it in anticipation of selling it, or you may be paying an exchange of rent for expenses. It depends on each individual scenario, but without a doubt, it's important to come through probate court, finish the process so that everything can be titled and all heirs can be cashed out as quickly as possible.
I'm gonna give you another part of that, and I'll be through with that. Just say I pass away and my dog come and say, I want my part of the house and I'm staying in this house because this is my mama house. Do he have a right to that house now?
So that has to be anyone who is an heir has to have consent of the majority of the heirs. You can't force someone to keep a house, can't force someone to sell a house. And so these are the conversations that need to be worked out in advance because no one is going to be able to take adverse possession. We get scenarios where mom promised things to certain children at their deathbed. If it wasn't written in a will, then Georgia law is going to take over, and the law is a lot more strict and clear cut than any bedside bequest. And so we really want people to, the best way to protect the property and to protect your own individual interests is to file the paperwork and open an estate in probate court, and then the process will move forward according to law.
Okay. Judge Kirk, I'm gonna ask you where you deal at. You deal with mostly like court cases where domestic violence and so forth, right?
So not necessarily. We do have, so we deal with misdemeanors and felonies on the front end. So I'll let you answer your question, but not necessarily.
Okay. How long does a person, if they have a felony, how long does that stay on their record for life, or they can have it removed off their record at a certain period?
So I believe that both the solicitor and the district attorney, and so you said felony, so the district attorney's office does have an expungement program. And so for those individuals that were not convicted, it's my understanding that the district attorney's office has a program and will allow those cases to be reviewed, and then they will possibly be removed from their records. I do not know, as a judge that sits in a court where I get to hear criminal histories, I hear and I have heard criminal histories from as old as like 1980. So I cannot promise to anyone that your felony record will be removed. I can say that if you have not been convicted of that crime, there is a very good possibility that that case may be removed. I mean, yeah, may be removed. And yes, I'll let the district attorney answer those questions.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Let us talk about the youth. What kind of programs do you have for the youth that's coming through the criminal system? Do they just lay there? What kind of programs do you have to help our youth so it won't become a revolving door?
So I would address that two ways. So I would say the program or the court that has the most impact on youth would be our juvenile court. I have been a juvenile court judge before here in Fulton County from 2010 to 2014. I do not know and could not tell you what programs they are working with now, but I do know that they have a good number of programs that deal with pro-social activities, that deal with mental health, that deal with just helping children and youth find better mentors or find mentors. On our court side, I do know that our misdemeanor mental health court has a cohort of young participants. So I would say 18 to 24. We have recently had a good number of actually, we've had a 17-year-old right now, 17 to 24-year-olds, and I would consider those youth. In terms of programming for them, we offer behavioral health services. We also offer case management in terms of treatment for their mental health concerns, but also connection with community collaborators. So we have Chris 180, who can provide not just their mental health services, but also provide housing, can also provide GED readiness and prep. And so those are the types of services. On the other side, for our felonies, I do know that the district attorney's office has a couple of diversion programs. And I know this because I get to sign some of the restitution orders for those diversion programs. The same thing for the solicitor's office. They have some diversion programs as well for our youth. So other than, like, I can only talk in generalities just because of what I've seen, but I don't know specifically. I will tell you, for the DA's office, there is a canine program, and then there is a program run by Ramona Toole, who would be able to kind of give you more information on her program, which is a straight diversion program for those youth in that same age group, so 17 to 24.
Okay, let me ask you, do you see, so it was like the first time of offense. Do you see a lot of those coming back second and third times, or do they get it the first time?
So now I'm going to have to draw on my experience as both a prosecutor and a defense attorney, and not just sitting in my judge seat. And I would say, for the most part, the people that take advantage of first offender and truly move forward with that do not come back. I do not believe that has been, I don't believe that is the custom. I can tell you that obviously some people do, but it is not the majority of those individuals that I have seen. And I think I'm unfamiliar with the data, so I don't want to go other than my personal anecdotal responses.
Okay. Judge Johnson, I noticed you got this great program down there. You can answer it or you don't have to answer, but I'm going to ask you. This year, or I think it was last year, you start marrying everybody. Did you get some kickback from that?
I sure did. That's interesting that you should ask. And so, some people didn't want us to do weddings. I'll say that there are other courts that perform weddings, but we wanted to have one particular messaging for our citizens and one central location that they could come to avoid any confusion. So we decided to do them on a large scale. And instead of paying my higher paid staff members to do it like attorneys, what I did was I deputized clerks, probate clerks, so that they could become ordained and perform the weddings themselves. So that allowed us to do a higher volume while not spending large amounts of the county's money. So it was a fiscally responsible thing to do in allowing some of my other staff members, because I can't always do the weddings. I've got other contested matters to hear. And so by employing my clerks and coming up with a program and having single messaging and advertising, we have now performed over 500 weddings in the last 90 days, and it has taken off tremendously. Now we're having people come from other jurisdictions, and for a fee they have to pay, but it has become an income generating revenue source for the county, and they recognize that as such. And so we also do it not only on Fridays, but on special occasions, like we did it on Halloween. That was something that was unexpected, but it really was by popular demand. And we married over 20 couples. And so the reason why we want to continue to engage in marriage services, I go into the federal penitentiary and we do weddings for prisoners, because studies show that when you are married, you become more settled and you recidivize or reoffend less. So marriage is a good thing for Fulton County citizens and for society overall. And if we can do our part to help reduce crime through marriages and make it convenient. Most recently, Michelle Obama said, don't spend a whole lot of money on wedding ceremonies, spend and splurge on anniversaries, because the divorce rate is so high that, it's really cost efficient and smart to allow for more opportunities for people to get married in the courthouse and use that other money that you may have saved up to go on a honeymoon or have a nice reception or dinner. So we're happy to provide those options to Fulton County citizens, and it doesn't look like we're going to be slowing down anytime soon.
Okay, great. Let me ask you a question also, Judge. Talking about, you say you go in I call it the penitentiary. You go into the penitentiary. Do you marry folks that's well, no, because you don't have the man and a woman. Do you have that kind of penitentiary where you have a man and a woman in the same penitentiary?
Sure. So the federal penitentiary that's here in Atlanta, the Bureau of Prisons Atlanta, has males in it. And so usually it's the male that's incarcerated and he's been corresponding or have a fiance that is not incarcerated. So they allow for the free part, the fiance to come into the prison, and the male is the husband, and we perform the ceremonies for absolutely free for both parties.
Okay. Let me ask you a question while we got you. Had you thought about doing something with the schools, like the do you don't handle like the truant program, do you?
No, we don't handle truancy, but I'm a former prosecutor with the Fulton County DA's office and the Fulton County Solicitor's office. And so my job, I was a community prosecutor, and my job was to come up with anti-crime and crime reduction initiatives. And so we did different programs like the Junior DA program, Legal Lives for middle school students. And when I went to the Solicitor's office, we began an initiative called Heads Up, Guns Down. And it's about, it's almost Fulton County's version of Scared Straight, where we expose students to the criminal justice system, and then we offer them alternatives and why they should not go down that path. So it's our goal to de-glamorize it. And so now Solicitor General Gamage and I have a program now where we go into local high schools called Summer of Peace. And so this is another opportunity where we're using music. I have a teenager who is all into the music and knows the words probably probably more than he knows his lessons. And so I realized the entertainment industry is a huge influencer for our young people. And so that's where we partnered with the entertainment industry, including several very well-known rappers and artists who want to give messages of, separating art from reality. We currently have a trial that's going on now here in Fulton County involving a very influential rapper. And so we're looking to combat those messages that they hear in the music with positive messages from those same rappers who now are millionaires and are no longer living that street life. So even though I am now a probate court judge, I still partner with my justice partners so that we can deliver impactful messaging to our young people against crime. Okay,
great. Judge Kirk, over in your court, do you still handle like the HOA court cases, or they go to the straight over to Superior Court now?
So in our court, we do handle landlord-tenant cases. And so that would be where there is a landlord who says that a tenant has either not paid or has violated some condition of the rent. So we do handle those. As a matter of fact, we handle about 45,000 of those a year. That is the number that has been filed. And so that is a piece of what we do. It's not necessarily HOA related, but it is specifically landlord-tenant matters.
What do you do? Do you handle those investors also?
If there is an investor who is a landlord, then their case would come before our court, but there would not be any adjudication other than the determination whether or not there was a landlord-tenant relationship and whether or not there was a violation of that relationship. So if there is a fraudulent deed or if there's something fraudulent, that's something we'd have to refer out to the police department or to someone else to investigate.
Okay. Let me ask you this. What happens when you have, what is the amount that I can sue somebody and it goes before you? Is it a certain dollar amount?
It is, absolutely. We are a court of limited jurisdiction, and our jurisdictional limits stop at $15,000. And so anything above that for our small claims, for our garnishment, for any of those other civil cases would in fact go to another court, either state or superior court.
Okay, I got a question. Does magistrate court handle squatter cases?
We do not. And so I know that is something that is coming up. Sometimes people file because there is a squatter, there is a intruder in their property. And I know we did a town hall with Councilwoman Pritchett, and we explained, and the sheriff's office explained, that the intruder warrants are actually filed with the sheriff's department. If there is a contesting of that, then there will be a case with our court or with Superior Court. But the intruder warrants are technically with the sheriff's department. And so if a case happens to come before magistrate court, if there is not a landlord-tenant relationship between those parties, for instance, a squatter, that's not going to be a case that we're going to have jurisdiction over.
Oh, wow. So when do you turn over a case to the Superior Court?
So I don't know that we ever turn over a case. That is a court where cases would be appealed. But if there is a case that is improperly filed with us, then it's simply because parties don't know. If there's a case that is improperly filed with us, it would be dismissed with us, or it would be transferred with costs to be paid into the next appropriate court.
Okay. Do you see, well, I'm gonna say, do you see cases where kids want to sue their parents because they told them to do something and the parent didn't want to do it? Do you see cases like that? Or do I watch too much television?
I'm not going to say that. I would say that I have not seen that type of case, but we have seen cases, particularly on our landlord-tenant side, where parents are attempting to sue the child that lives in their home. And by child, I mean grown adult that lives in their home that will not pay rent and will not follow the rules of the house. And so that's not appropriate, but we do see those types of cases.
Okay. So do you see the cases where if I filed that my neighbor's playing the music too loud and we have to go to court, do you see those type of court cases?
We do. And so that would possibly be on our warrant application calendar. And so that would possibly be, I don't know what crime someone would say is being committed, but our warrant application calendar is where citizens file applications to have a warrant issued for another citizen, and it is citizen on citizen cases. Those cases come before the court, and they are, both parties have an opportunity to speak. Obviously, because it's a criminal case, the defendant does not have to speak, but the judge will make a determination there if in fact there's probable cause for that warrant to issue. If there is, then that person may be taken into custody. But anyone filing a citizen application case should know, simply because you come in as the plaintiff or the defendant, the respondent or the defendant, does not mean you stay that way. When the judge has a court of inquiry and listens to the information, if it turns out that the finger pointing and the evidence point to the person that brought the case, as opposed to what they expected, the judge will make a ruling that fits the facts as they come forward. So I say to anybody, right, it is your opportunity.
Wow.
Just bring your evidence.
Oh, wow. Wow. Judge Johnson, let me ask you over in your court, what if I'm gonna say my spouse is laying in the hospital and we have to make decisions and a will is not in place? Can I make those decisions or the court have to step in?
Well, so a will only kicks into action when a person passes, but there are other documents that govern medical decisions, like a healthcare power of attorney or a durable power of attorney for healthcare is what it's called, or even a living will. And so certain documents kick in when a person is no longer conscious or unable to make decisions for themselves. So those documents can be prepared ahead of time, and sometimes when someone's in the hospital will present those documents to them. But absent any other documents in place, then it's going to be the next of kin that usually has the ability to make healthcare decisions. So that's going to be like a spouse or a child or a parent if it's an adult child. And so that's why it's important to have those documents in place, because you never know when one could fall ill and unable to make decisions, and you want to make sure that the right person who is making those decisions for you and that they are empowered to do so. So we encourage everyone. The documents are called a living will or a durable power of attorney for healthcare, or and those are the key documents that you can appoint someone to make healthcare decisions on your behalf.
Okay, let me ask you, I got a question. Do all wills have to be notarized to be valid?
So absolutely not. So people mistake notarization with being witnessed. So being a notary only means that you're checking the ID of the person that signs it. Doesn't mean that the person means what they write. And so let me rephrase that. Wills in Georgia, in order to be valid, require the signature of two disinterested witnesses. These are two people that are getting nothing out of the will. So it doesn't have to be notarized, but it does have to be witnessed by two independent parties. And with those two signatures, maybe a neighbor or a friend who's not listed in the will, then that is what creates a valid will in Georgia. And I'll tell you, part of the cases that this court hears is that the witnesses are disinterested, or there weren't two witnesses, it was only signed by one person. Well, by the letter of the law, that's an invalid will. Or if your oldest child who is taking everything signs the will, then that's considered their will, either they're disinherited in the will or their witness signature will not be recognized. So people contest wills for many, many different reasons. Undue influence, a caretaker may be whispering in a person's ear saying, no one else loves you, leave me everything. Undue influence, fraud, they may tell them something, if you die today, so-and-so will get everything, when that's not true. So they sign a will under false pretenses. We also get forgery as a reason that wills are contested. Mom couldn't even see, and so she signed it because her oldest child put this piece of paper in front of her, but she really didn't know what it said or thought it said something else. So there's a variety of reasons that people contest wills. So it's important to get advice from an attorney and know what Georgia law is to finalize your will. But even after all of that, your family can still contest your will. Whether they will prevail or not is unknown depending upon the circumstances, but it always starts with a plan. The most foolproof document is a trust, and a trust is something that does not go through probate court and cannot be revoked or challenged unless it's by the person that created the trust.
Okay, if it go to the court system or probate case, how long does it take to get a decision?
Sure, and that's a great question. How long a probate case takes is really geared toward the heirs and whether it's contested or not. If all the heirs and the family is in harmony and everyone signs that they've received acknowledgement, then we can issue the testamentary letters. That is the document that is the authority to go to the bank and begin to conduct business on behalf of the estate. We can issue those the exact same day. But if everyone won't sign that they've received notice, and there is and there are some issues, some lost addresses, some cousins you don't know, some unknown heirs, or if an heir files an objection, then that's what drives the process to take longer. And if you don't have everyone's address, then you have to publish it in the paper for 4 weeks. So there are different things that stretch everything out a little bit. But if everything is in order and everybody's on the same page and they know that this is mom's will or dad's will, and they don't have any problems with it, then the matter can be handled same day up to 30 days.
Now, let me ask you, if I was to pass today and didn't have a will or nothing, is it good for the next of kin that has the banking account information to go withdraw that money out the bank or let it sit there?
So that is a great question. Many people have what's called a pay on death beneficiary at their bank account. When you signed up for your bank, you put who you want your bank account to go to. So it can be considered a co-owner or a pay on death beneficiary. If you have that on file, then that bank account goes to them directly. It isn't even a part of the estate if you have that specific designation. So they can go the day you pass away and pull out everything and don't have to account to anyone. So for my particular circumstance, I have my husband as payable on death. So any money in my account won't travel through my estate. However, I have another account that doesn't have a payable on death, and that account is property of the estate. So if someone takes something that is property of the estate without the executor formally having distributed to them, then they're stealing from the estate, and that can be recouped.
Okay. Judge Kirk, somebody stole I was looking at a question and they didn't stole it. So I'm going to ask, what is the difference between a judge in the magistrate court and a circuit judge, Judge Kirk?
So like I mentioned, we are a limited jurisdiction court here in the Magistrate Court of Fulton County. Magistrate Court is a state court. A circuit court judge is going to be a federal judge. So other state level courts are going to be our superior court, our probate court, our juvenile court, our have I mentioned state court? Those are going to be state level courts. Circuit courts are going to be like the 11th Circuit, those federal circuit courts. So those are going to be federal courts. That would be the difference is where the judge sits, not necessarily the training or the requirements to be a judge, but it would also be the how they get to those seats. I believe the federal seats are not by election. Judge Johnson's seat and mine are by election. And so I believe the federal seats are also lifetime appointments. Judge Johnson and I run for election every 4 years. There are another class of federal judges, which are, I would say there's a federal magistrate, which is appointed by that federal bench. But again, that is a different process, and that does not come through us.
Okay. So I was
Actually,
just
let
going
me take that back. I think they are suggested by the federal bench, but they are not appointed. Again, they are appointed by a different entity. So not us and not them. So yes, sorry.
Because I was going to ask you the next question was, what is the highest magistrate? What is the highest? Is that the federal?
So they're all different. So it's hard to say highest. Like highest court in the land is going to be our Supreme Court, like the Supreme Court. And highest trial level court is going to be the Superior Court. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say. We're all in different positions. I am the chief magistrate judge in Fulton. There are 159 other chiefs, and working with me, in Fulton, we have up to 30 other judges, 8 full-time, 22, up to 22 part-time, and each magistrate court is different. On the federal level, they have different designations for their magistrates, but they are not, like, we are not the same. That's the best I can tell you.
Okay. I heard you say you had 159. So that you had, because Fulton County, what you say?
No, 159 counties. So each
Right,
county
right,
has their own. Yes. We only have up to 30. So no.
Because I was going to ask you, we have 159 counties. Okay, you answered that. So
Yes.
let me ask you, you're on the ballot. What judges that don't be on the ballot?
So, for instance, our juvenile court judges are not elected judges. They are appointed by our Superior Court. When there were associate juvenile court judges, they were appointed by the chief juvenile court judge. There are judges that are judicial officers, and these are all judges functioning in Fulton County. There are judges that are judicial officers. Our state court has judicial officers. They are not elected. They are appointed by the state court bench. Superior Court has judicial officers in their family division. Those judges are appointed by that Superior Court bench. The magistrate judges that serve with me are appointed by me with the approval of the state and Superior Court benches. So the majority of those benches, I interview, send names up, and they approve or not. And then we move forward from there.
Okay. So typically, you're on the ballot. You have to run every 4 years. You possibly can stay in this position a lifetime, or is it a term limit?
There are judges that have stayed for a very long time. It is true. I do hope I have longevity, and I would like to think your audience would be a part of that. So yes, thank you.
So do you see yourself in the next, I'm going to put you out there, in the next 10 years over on the Supreme Court, not Supreme Court, Superior Court?
No, ma'am. So I have, and I want to be very clear with your audience, I have put my name in the hat. I have made the short list for the governor to be on the Superior Court, and I was not chosen. I can tell you that I have to thank God for giving me just kind of a hand tap and reminding me of the blessing that he has given me. And this, in fact, is a blessing. I have the opportunity to look at our programming, to make programs that fit our public, to change our court and how it is we see people. That's not something that I would have the power ability to do if I were one of 20 judges on the Superior Court. And so for me, I am thankful that God reminded me of what a blessing this is. And I have been here since this court was created in this form. I was appointed by Governor Deal and have run twice since that time, 2018 and 2022. So it's been my pleasure to make sure that our court continues to inform, engage, and empower our community and make it accessible for people. So it's important to be where I am.
Well, I'm going to be a little selfish. Since you say that, I'd rather for you just stay over here on this side.
Thank you.
You can deal with all of us. Let me ask you, and then I'm going to ask Judge Johnson. Some people don't understand that being a judge, those are nonpartisan race.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So in Fulton County, they are nonpartisan races. I have friends who are magistrates in other counties, and they have to run on either the Republican or the Democratic ticket. So not all of the magistrate judges and not all of the judges' races, but in Fulton County, I believe all of our judge races are in fact nonpartisan. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm ex Judge Johnson this because you've been a judge now for 4 years. Judge Johnson?
Going on 3 years, and next year would be my fourth year. The election is in May, and we would take office in January. So three years at this point, almost.
Okay. So tell me, how you like being a judge? Just
Wow, that is a great question. I first want to thank you, Ms. Chapman, not only for having us on this platform, but for your work in the community, because you knew me when I was a community prosecutor. You knew some of the community work that I had done. You and I together are what I call day ones in the creation of the city of South Fulton. You were there down. We were all together at the Capitol advocating for cityhood. And so you knew my heart, and you knew what I wanted for not only our city, but for our county. So you were one of the first people that I spoke with when I thought about running for a judge, and you were supportive, not only then, but throughout. We did mailers together. We did forums together. You helped me. You introduced me to people. So I feel like I owe, and this position was given to me by the people that I am dedicated to serve. So thank you for that. So do I like being a judge? Absolutely. And not just a judge that hears contested matters, but being a probate judge, because I do have a passion for community programming. And I realized when I was on the campaign trail, when I mentioned I was running for probate court, people would say, probate, is that where you pay your probation fees? And I knew then that probate court needed a voice and hadn't had exposure in the community. So just this past weekend at Impact Church, we gave away 185 free wills to Fulton County residents.
awesome.
We're out here doing free services to people. I'm speaking most recently to the Cascade Realtors Group about estate planning and transferring property. I've got literature out that we're publishing about whether to buy, keep, or sell your home that you've inherited, and all the things to think about. So this is a powerful position for me, because I get to make probate court relevant and tell people and give people information that they can use. Estate planning is something that has not been in certain communities, is not as well educated about as in other communities. And it is my job to help people create intergenerational wealth and to bring probate services into communities. So just as Judge Kirk mentioned, being chief judge of a court allows you the power to find out what the issues are and to bring relevant programming to our audiences in ways that other judges cannot. So do I like being a judge? Absolutely. But I'd rather you call me the community judge, because I am bringing and will be and continue to be in the community helping people.
Yeah. And I want to say this. Thank you, Kenya, because me and you don't agree on everything. And me and Kenya sometimes, she got a power level than me, but we never agreed on everything, but we walked away respecting each other's decisions. And I remember I'm gonna say Judge Johnson called me one day, and I was like, why is she calling me that? What did you gave me this name? And I said, I don't want that name.
A super citizen, and I still
No,
call you behind your back.
yeah, wait, but you called me the godmother, and I said, why is she calling me the godmother? But now I understand it, and I don't take that lightly, Judge. I don't take that lightly. What I like about you guys, I can go to the grocery store and I can see Judge Kirk and see Judge Johnson, and you out here. Let me ask you a question, Judge Johnson. When you were coming up as a little girl, did you ever think that you would be on the court as a judge, Judge Kirk?
I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. And so, and then I actually wrote in my high school memory book that I was going to be on the Supreme Court.
Okay.
And that was the highest aspiration, but I did know that I wanted to be a judge, but I never knew that the position that I would have and the responsibility I would have would be as impactful and as relevant as it currently is. So I feel like I'm living not only my wildest dream, but beyond my wildest dream.
And I love it. What about you, Judge Kirk?
So growing up, it was my desire to be a physician of some sort. And that was my goal. I went through high school. I went through 2 summers of pre-med programs, one here at Medical College of Georgia, one in New York. And I just knew that I was going to be a doctor. I got to college my junior year, and I sitting in my organic chemistry class, like within the first 3 days, I was like, I'm done. I have had all I can of this whole science stuff, this medical stuff. I am done. And so for me, I was like, Oscar and Margaret, those are my parents. They expect me to be done in 4 years. I was like, what can I do to get out of here? I said, well, maybe I can go to law school. And so I was, thankfully I was able to get to law school, but I knew that I knew that I wanted to be a judge. I knew that I absolutely wanted to be a judge because I like to be the one that makes a decision. And I find that even as a child, when people were having a little bit of bickering, I'm the one that steps in. I didn't say I instigate anything, but I'm the one that steps in, and I kind of help people try to figure out why it is we're fighting and how it is we can stop it. And so it has been a piece of my personality. I am naturally curious. And so I love getting to the bottom of whatever the situation is, whatever the process is. And so that has served me well, but I absolutely love being a judge. I've been a judge since 2010, where I started out, thank you, Judge Belinda Edwards, in juvenile court. And so I had that joy and pleasure there. And even there, I had the pleasure of starting our very first juvenile drug court. And we did amazing things. We were able to work with the Azalea City chapter of the Links, who helped us provide support for our students, help with even scholarships for our students and books for our students as they went to college. They helped us with programming. We were able to connect with the LA Fitness to provide Saturday programming for our kids. Like, it was my first opportunity to really change programming and to see what it is the community needed, what our students needed, and how we could actually assist them. So this has been a journey for me, and I get to do the same thing here at Magistrate Court. And we get to shape every day what this looks like and how people experience our court. So I really love when people say, hey, your judges are jam up and jelly tight, or they say, hey, you might want to have a different conversation with somebody. I love that. Don't ever think that I don't want to hear that, because what I don't want is someone to have a bad experience, for court to feel inaccessible, or for you to feel like we are running over you and your rights. We are here to serve this community. And so I am thankful that I have a team of judges that absolutely believe the way I do, that we are really here to serve. So it has been a joy for me, and I am thankful to the voters that I get to stay here, and I am hopeful that I will get to stay again.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Then you was a lawyer first.
Yes.
And you can answer this question. Did you pass that bar on the first go round?
So I will tell you, I am not ashamed to say no. I had so here's the problem. I was actually working in a firm, and our firm said, okay, we're going to give you all this amount of time off so y'all can study. And I was like, that doesn't seem to make sense. But I went with it, right? Because it was my first job. I was like stressed so much. But the truth is, I was like, yeah, no, like this did not work. And then before that, I think I had some personal thing happen. I was either sick. Oh, no, that's not what happened. I was with a young man, and then I broke up with that young man. And so my little life was just not happening. And I went to go sit for this bar going, I don't even know why I'm here. And sure enough, there was no reason for me to be there. But I did on the second time, and I am grateful for that. But yes. Okay. So no, I did not.
Okay. Judge Johnson, did you pass that bar on the first go round?
I did pass the bar the first time I took it, but I have my own testimony. So the Georgia bar has what's called a fitness test. You have to be declared as fit, or that you reach the ethical standards in your life to be an attorney. And that's because the majority of people are disbarred for mishandling client funds. So this is where they look at your criminal background, they look at your credit report, they look at your character for fitness. And I had some matters on my credit report from my undergraduate experience that had gone unpaid. I had a roommate situation, and even though certain things were in my name, I felt like they were owed to her, so I wasn't paying them. And I was determined to not be fit to take the bar exam. That means I was not authorized to take the bar and to be an attorney. And so I had to go through a process of about 12 months where I had to show payment of those debts and show fiscal responsibility before they would let me be authorized to take the bar. So while I took the bar and passed the first time, I still had some challenges getting that authority to even take the bar exam, and all because of my credit report. So for students that are interested in law school, I'll let you know right now that your credit does matter. You have to be cleared up or at least show 6 months of payment to show that you're not in any financial distress, because when you're in financial distress, you may be tempted to steal a client's money. So I made it through that, but not without battle scars. And hopefully my story will help someone else who is looking to go into law school.
Thank you for being honest, because everybody's not honest like that, and that might help someone. Thank you so much. Let me ask you, Judge Johnson, if you have cases, this come from a question off Facebook. If you have cases across, do they cross? So if you have a case cross straight state lines, then what circuit judge would rule?
So as it relates to probate court, probate lies in where a person passed away or where a person lived and owned property. So Fulton County cases, if you, like Damita, if you live in Fulton County and or you own property there, it will come to probate court. People can appeal probate decisions to the Court of Appeals. Many people think you appeal probate to Superior Court, but actually probate court is at the exact same level as Superior Court. Probate court is a constitutional officer, and we are the only judge in the state that is considered a constitutional officer, meaning we are part of the bare bones of society before other courts were created. There's the sheriff, there's the tax commissioner who collects revenue, there's the clerk of court that holds the records, and then there's probate court. So there's only 4 constitutional officers in the state per county, and it gives us certain authorities that other judges do not have. We have a spending authority, hiring authority, and a bunch of other permissions that other judges don't have. So all of my cases can be appealed to the Court of Appeals and to the Supreme Court, but that's the only other court that trumps probate court.
Okay. Judge Kirk, how many people, do you have a number of people working under you?
So I have a number of support staff, if that's what you mean. So obviously we have up to 30 judges, but then we also have 6 JAs who are judicial assistants, 1 judicial case manager, 2 court operations specialists, as well as I'm missing 2 other people, but I think I have a team of about 11 that actually supports our judges in the magistrate court.
Okay, let me ask you a question, because the clerk, I think she just retired, Superior, the city clerk, she does all the
So not the city clerk, it would have been the Superior Court and Magistrate Clerk, Kathleen Tina Robinson. Yes. Ms. Robinson retired in March.
Yes, so she used to do all the signing of everything. Do that fall under you or the Superior Court?
So we are 2 separate courts. Superior Court is separate and Magistrate Court is separate. And so those clerks' offices are separate right now. Well, when Tina Robinson was clerk, she was the clerk for both Magistrate Court and the clerk for Superior Court, but they were 2 separate, like they are 2 separate courts. Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. How could you encourage young ladies that look like you to go on and be judges and lawyers?
So the first thing I would tell them is every day do your absolute best. So when I was a child advocate attorney, when I was a prosecutor, when I was appearing in front of the judges that eventually said, hey, why don't you want to be another judge? Why don't you want to be a judge? It was because I was putting forth my best foot every single day. And every day I was adamant about whatever client I represented. So I have been a prosecutor. I've been a defense attorney. I have represented the Department of Family and Children's Services. I have represented children, and I won't say against, but against the Department of Family and Children's Services. But each day I showed up, I did my absolute best. I was prepared for court every single day. The other thing I will tell you is to be nice to the people with the keys. It's not the people at the top of the food chain. It's the people that open the doors. So it's housekeeping. Be nice to the people at the front desk. Those are the people that have access to the people that you are trying to impress. I think one of the things that I am learning with young lawyers is they forget themselves and they want to come and talk sideways to my staff. That's not a way to get a job from me. That's not a way to get the next internship with us, because each and every one of our team members is important. And so that is what I would say. And then the final last thing I would say, two last things, is to have a base, figure out what is grounding you and what is pushing you forward, because it can't necessarily be about the money. It can't be about the money. There's got to be something that grounds you and keeps you coming every single day. And if that is your faith, I'm hoping that there is some faith that grounds you, but whatever that is. And then the other thing is simply to speak. Don't come in rooms and not speak. You are there and you look the way you look and have the experiences you do because you are different than everybody else that is there. Even Judge Johnson and I walking into the room, we are each different and have different thoughts. And I would say to any young lady to open your mouth and speak. You are not meant there to follow the leader unless you have made the decision that I agree completely. So I would say open your mouth and speak. Don't play small to make other people feel good.
Oh, I like that. I'm going to go to Judge Johnson, but Judge Kirk, I want to personally thank you because when my son passed his exam, you showed up at that swearing in and gave him word and encouragement, and I'm quite sure you're still in his ear. I done gave him over to you. You can be Mama Chatman too. Thank you.
You can share.
Judge, we got 5 minutes. Judge Johnson, tell me, what could you give young girls that want to be judged and sit in your seat to Judge Johnson? What would you give them advice on?
I would want them to dream big. I would want them to know that they can, in fact, do anything that they want to do. And I want them to know that nothing replaces networking. There was a saying that you cannot be what you cannot see. So if you see something that you like or see somebody who is where you want them to be, go up to them and let them know, I want to be in your position one day. How do I do it? Ask them questions about themselves and learn how they did what they did, and then see if they want you to work for them or even do some free work if you can. Invest in yourself. So many people, are in a position where they need to work to be paid, but if you can donate just a few hours to an office or a cause or something that you want to aspire to be, then when opportunities come available, they already know you. You're already there. They don't have to train you. So if you're able to give of your time, that gives you such a rich experience to learn more about what you do want to do. You also learn about what you don't want to do, and it is considered an investment. So the three things I would say is dream big, network, and invest in yourself, and good things will come to you. And always believe in the power of positive thinking and the law of attraction. If you believe it and you have no other thought that it won't happen, and you move forward like it's already happened, then good things will come to you and you may get more than what you ever dreamed.
I like that. Judge Johnson, I want you to put those three things in the chat. We're down to the wire of closing. I'm going to give you 1 minute on closing, Judge Johnson. Told you it was going to go fast.
Sure. I just want to thank everyone for their support. And I want them to know that probate court is for the people. The other people may not go through some of the other courts, such as landlord tenant, or be the victim of a crime or bankruptcy court, but everyone comes through probate court, above or underground. And so please educate yourself about the services that we offer so that you can be proactive instead of your family being reactive after the death of a loved one. So consider engaging in estate planning. Probate court is here to help you and your family through its most difficult times. And thank you for honoring me with this position. I owe it all to the people, and I will continue to serve you as long as I'm in this world.
Thank you. Your closing, Judge Kirk.
I want to thank you, Ms. Chatman, for having me here. I am honored to be able to join Judge Johnson today. I want to say to everyone that the Magistrate Court of Fulton County is here to inform, engage, and empower our community. I also want to mention that we have a REACH clinic where we provide free legal information and navigational services on small claims, garnishments, and warrant applications, that our misdemeanor mental health court is there to support our citizen defendants who have misdemeanors and also mental health. And so we have in this court, we have closed 89% of the cases that have come through us from January up until November 6, 2023. That's been over 335,000 cases that have come. And so we are working efficiently, but also making sure that court is accessible. Again, thank you, Ms. Chatman, for having me today.
Well, thank you, judges. We're down to the wire. We got a couple seconds. I want to thank you guys for coming, taking my call. I will continue on doing what you do. Judge Johnson, Judge Kirk, great people. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay in our community. Judge Johnson, I'll see you out there on the campaign trail next year. We're looking for great things to come out of you even more. Again, this is Take a Stand. And we want to thank everyone for coming, listening, and we see you on the 23rd. Thank you. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks for having us.
Thanks.